sentencing, when asked if he had anything to say for himself, Jake Byrd of Iowa stopped a moment before cursing those present. "I'm putting the Jake Byrd hex on all of you who had anything to do with my being punished. Mark my words, you will die before I do." The judge instantly sentenced him to death, but was found dead of a heart attack not a month later. Other people included in the sentencing would be found dead under varying circumstances before Byrd's execution date in July of 1949. Was it possible that all those involved had been cursed at the sentencing? This is a brief history of Jake Byrd. As always, this episode of A Brief History contains graphic content and may not be suitable for all audiences. Viewer discretion is advised. Jake Byrd was born to parents Charles and Deli Byrd on December 14, 1901, somewhere in Louisiana. Not much is known about Byrd's childhood, and he claimed himself a transient for most of his life. Supporting himself with manual labor and working on various portions of the ever-popular railroad lines, Byrd moved from place to place with ease to find new work. Like many transients of the time, Byrd had an extensive criminal record, with charges for things like burglary and even attempted murder. By the time Byrd was 45, he had been imprisoned for a total of 31 years throughout his lifetime, in multiple states such as Michigan, Iowa, and Utah. After what was a full lifetime of crime, Byrd was about to commit his ultimate offense. The night before Halloween in 1949, Bertha Klutt and her daughter, Beverly June, were spending the night at home. Byrd managed to break into their residence around 2 a.m. and subsequently hacked both women to death with an axe, their screams echoing into the packed neighborhood. Multiple residents of the area reported the screaming to authorities, and they quickly arrived at the Klutt home, only to see a man escaping through the back door of the house. Byrd was eventually captured and taken to the Tacoma City Jail, where he was interviewed immediately. Byrd quickly confessed to murdering the women, citing that it was simply a burglary gone wrong. He hadn't intended to kill them. But authorities found, upon investigation of the scene, that there had been an attempt to sexually assault the mother, Bertha Klutt, before her demise. After his capture, Jake Byrd was charged with first-degree murder for only the death of Bertha. Byrd pleaded not guilty to the charge and subsequently tried to fire his own lawyer prior to the trial, stating that he would be representing himself going forward. The judge presiding over the trial refused to allow Byrd to represent himself and reappointed the original lawyer on the case. The trial began on schedule but was quickly held up by the slow process of jury selection. The jury had to be extensively questioned to find out if a group of predominantly white people could give a black man a fair trial. It took until the end of the day and many dismissed jurors before a jury was finally impaneled at the end of the day. The trial began the following morning and lasted just a day and a half, moving at a monumentally fast speed. The prosecuting attorney pushed that the murder was premeditated, hoping that he would qualify Byrd for the death penalty. Despite shaky evidence and claims that confessions were obtained from Byrd while he was under duress, the jury returned a verdict in just over half an hour. Jake Byrd was found guilty of first-degree murder, and the jury had voted to impose the death penalty. Byrd, who had been vacant for most of the trial, simply looked at the deputy sheriffs around him and asked, "What's all the excitement about?" Jake Byrd's execution was set for January 16, 1948, and during the sentencing, Jake Byrd famously cursed all those involved. It is alleged that at least 6 persons involved with this trial had died. The judge who issued the verdict died of a heart attack 1 month later. One of the officers who took his confession also died of a heart attack. Another officer in connection with the confession died of unknown causes. The chief clerk of the court and one of Byrd's prison guards died of unknown circumstances, and one of Byrd's lawyers died on the anniversary of the sentencing. Byrd outlived all but one of them. Before his execution, Byrd claimed he had committed 44 other murders in his lifetime and was willing to give authorities all the information they would need in order to solve these murders. Not wanting to pass up over 40 cold cases, Byrd was given a stay of execution for 60 days. Police from states over came to interview their new public enemy number one, and eventually 11 murders were substantiated. Byrd proved he held enough knowledge in relation to 33 other murders that while not proven, he was considered a prime suspect. While it was shocking that Byrd had proven himself to be one of the most notorious serial killers of all time, his MO was equally as fascinating. The Byrd case challenged stereotypes that had been being held about serial killers. Most serial killers were thought to be white males, while African American killers of the time were heavily associated with urban violence, and serial killers are rarely known to cross racial lines in their crimes. In 1991, criminologist Eric W. Hickey wrote, "Revelations that Jake Byrd, a black man, had actually stalked and killed dozens of white women in the 1940s in dozens of states continues to challenge traditionally held profiles of serial killers." How had Jake Byrd managed to get away with so many murders for so long? Was it his transient lifestyle, making him hard to pinpoint at any given time? Or was Jake Byrd a criminal mastermind? Jake Byrd was eventually hanged on July 15, 1949, just after midnight in front of over 100 witnesses. He was buried in an unmarked grave on prison property. Thank you for watching this episode of A Brief History. Thank you to my patrons who support this series every month. You are greatly appreciated. If you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to like and subscribe. Stay safe, and I'll see you next time.